Hey, good day, everyone. This is Daylon here, and welcome to another session of Working in UX Design. And today we have our next guest with us. His name is Sherizan. Sherizan is an old friend of mine, and we got reconnected recently because of his interest in vibe coding, which is what we're going to be speaking about today. So, Sherizan Sheikh is his surname, is a designer and AI builder. So he leads the design team at botim, which is the Middle East fastest growing app right now. And he has built solo projects like Nasma.ai, which is a spiritual habit tracker where you can also ask questions about the Quran, and Getlocal.ai, where it's an AI localization tool that allows you to translate many languages easily, and Detach.to for designers who love AI. When he's not in Figma or Cursor, he's rallying builders at JFBI, a vibe coding community in UAE that he has started with his friend. So today we're going to be speaking about vibe coding, the evolution of the product design career track, and how we are evolving as product designers and product builders, and how to launch. If let's say you have a great idea how to launch your app, get to product market fit, which Sherizan has done, and and how are our careers going to be affected now with the proliferation of AI tools? So welcome, Sherizan. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Daylon. Thank you for having me. Actually, you're right. Like we go way back, maybe more than 10 years ago. So we
Oh,
started, actually, it feels like a full circle because we started at this, what do you call it, initiative called Founders Institute, where we started to build, our own startup. So here we are again. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
yeah, I love having builder conversations. So let's start with your official career, which is botim. And can you explain to our audience like what is it? What is botim? Why is it the fastest growing app in the Middle East?
Yeah, sure. So, to be blunt with you, I have been in Singapore for so long, and the Middle Eastern landscape to me is just non-existent. So when I had this opportunity to move to Middle East, Baltimore was one of the one that stood out. It was my last area in the map where I haven't really, gone to apart from Europe, Asia, America. So it was really exciting to be there. And both is actually a communication company, or it started as a communication company, because over there users can't use WhatsApp to call. So calling is a little bit of a different situation. There is blocked. So Botim is the substitute, so you can call your family and friends back home. As you know, Middle East or UAE specifically, it's there's a lot of expats. So UAE has a population of 11 million. 10 million are expats with only 1 million local. So a lot of us really need to call back home. For me, calling Singapore, calling my family. So Botim is actually a communication tool. And the goal is to kind of like expand that into a super app. And also to be, AI native with fintech services. So all in all, a super app.
Yeah, that sounds like right up your alley because I know you were recently with Grab as well as TikTok with the unicorn app of Southeast Asia and TikTok. Everyone knows TikTok. Yeah, so how did those previous gigs, lead you to this one where you're doing great work right now?
Wow, actually, if I look back, it feels like a long career. I've always been a designer. I think I have about 10, 15 years of product design. I think I've always been curious, always been wanting to create things, and that always led me to all these different positions and different jobs. I think at Grab was the most fun because for the past 7 years, it started out as a ride-hailing company, and then it just grew into this behemoth of like, different products. It's so fun to be, at a place like that. You learn so much, not just design, but also product, business. And then I moved to TikTok because Grab wasn't enough for me. Why Southeast Asia? I had to work at a company where it's a little bit more global and couldn't get bigger than TikTok with at that point. I think they had like 1 billion MAU. So it's crazy to just be part of that. And again, to learn, like, for example, as a designer, design system, how do you design something for 1 billion users? It's just crazy. So again, I just learned so much, just being in those companies, and which led me now as a chief of design at botim. It's pretty much just teaching everybody else. Like I'm at a stage in my career where it's not getting anywhere. It's more like giving. So it's really cool to just have like all the new designers coming up, and just teaching them the ropes. So that's been fun.
I really love that philosophy and how your career has evolved. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into that. But I think a lot of your success is not just about making these apps that are already like unicorns even more successful, right? I think one thing I really respect what you do as a designer is that you are also a builder, right? So you're not just designing things that are nice and fancy. I still remember the app that you launched, which is something about clubbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But but then you're also like building, right? So you're prototyping, you're building, and I understand from you earlier that Nasma.ai, which is your spiritual AI habit tracker, to help the people of the Islamic faith to get more connected with God and to help them understand things. That's gaining some traction. You even have paid subscribers. So tell me a little bit more about your motivation for building something like that, and how was the journey from idea to launching it to market?
Yeah. No, it's always experiments, right? Like, you have many ideas, like ChatGPT can also generate so many ideas for you. But one thing that really helps is solving your own problems. You can go into a rabbit hole just to figure out like what to build. But for me, I think I started out just an experiment because when I moved to this new company, Botim, um, my boss or the CEO was like, "Hey, we need to come up with an AI strategy." And AI strategy was like two days old. Like, what is AI, right? So the only way for me as a leader in a company is to really dive in and build something and to learn about AI. So that's what I did. And I just took, one simple idea, which is like the spiritual app, because every time I want to find out about something religious, like these apps are always populated with ads. It's so annoying. Of course, they need to monetize, but as a consumer, you have to wait 30 seconds for video to finish to just to get to some information. I think that's why ChatGPT now works, right? Nobody goes to Google anymore to go through all that. So I had that problem, and of course, I had my day job as well. I didn't want to build something as big as, that you can turn into something else. I just wanted to find a small idea. That's why I thought like, hey, building the spiritual app for Muslims is really cool. So that I started with that, open up Cursor and just started vibe coding. And over the weekend, it just went so quickly. Like I started to get like the APIs connected. I started to display the information. I connected to ChatGPT. I have my own AI wrapper within the app. And then the following weekend, I started to build like the authentication, the login. And I was just so, it was just a surreal experience. It felt like I had a superpower just to write things in English and things magically, happen. And then over 2 weekends, the app was done. And my wife was saying like, "Hey, let's just just share it. People might find it useful." So I had a nudge from my wife to share it, and I did that, and it worked. So it was crazy how fast these days you can just build something and launch it.
Wow, that is really amazing. Just 2 weekends that you managed to get an app out to the market. I heard the reception is fantastic. Fantastic. And do you mind sharing like what's roughly the monthly active users like?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn really helped. I think building in public really helped because the problem today now that there's a bunch of kids, everyone is building apps. I think you will fight for real estate, you will fight for eyeballs. So building in public really helps, and that really helped me push. I think I had like 1,000 users within that weekend. And then over the course, I think within 3 months, I had like almost 7,000 downloads and all organic. I didn't do any paid ads. I didn't have time to do my own TikTok, videos and all that. So it's just purely organic, and it's also only iOS. So I only built it on Xcode. Um, and I should be building it on Android as well because of the mass population there. But again, this is an experiment. I'm not here to to monetize the app. This is just for it's my playground to just mess with AI and mess with the models. So I'm really proud. Like I have a few hundred DAUs actually, and the time span I have it open here as well. The time span is actually 13 minutes on average per user. So obviously they're sticking. I think asking questions about the religion. There's like the Bible version of it. Like you can read the Quran. There's so many verses of it. So I think people are sticking around. So I find that it's super valuable that just from the data and from the analytics, like people are actually using it. That makes you actually want to wake up every day and keep adding more features on it. So I think that's the drive.
Wow, that's really awesome. I'll be sure to check it out myself. I actually do have a copy of the Quran and the Bible, which I'm reading both.
Perfect.
So I think I would need a lot of help from maybe your app. And I'm also wondering, like, would you say this is product market fit? And how would you define product market fit?
How do I define product market fit? That's a good question. For me, like what I built is an example of no planning, right? At work, this is something do not do. Just go straight at solutioning because you first have to plan. You got to research. You got to okay, is this a real problem? How big of it is? How big of a problem it is? How many people are you addressing? And then the risk becomes smaller. But with vibe coding, because in 2 weekends you can build it, you don't have to worry about product market fit because within 2 weekends you get it out there and then you can test the waters, right? Because back then it takes you 6 months to build something. It takes you maybe $50,000 to build something, right? So again, there is some level of product market fit that you have to kind of acknowledge as well. You don't want to build something that nobody use. But like I said, I think the 4 or 5 apps that I've built to this date, they were all problems that I have as a consumer. Maybe a problem that my wife has, my friends has. Like, how do you solve like very small problems? Don't think about bigger problems at this stage. And again, your vibe coding, right? It comes with security that you have to take care of, compliance. You can't build a bank, right? Vibe coding a bank, that's out of the question. So I think go small. I think, the question is, I think, like, what do you want to get out of AI, right? What do you want to master in AI? Is it for you to be a better designer, better business owner? And then you can figure out like, what kind of experiments kind of suit that mold.
So while we're talking about Nasma, right? Just to understand a little bit around the tech tools that you're using. I understand you use Xcode, which is native for building apps using Swift. And also you used Cursor, which is one of the more popular IDEs that have agentic functions. Was there anything else you used? Was Figma involved, for example?
Good question. It's crazy because as a designer, the first thing you should do is design it first. But with Cursor, I was I was going rogue, I was like a cowboy. I just went straight to cursor. I think because from intuition, design. So I could visualize things in my head, like, okay, I know how the homepage will look like in my head. I don't have to sketch it out. But for a non-designer, maybe don't do that. I think start with even a simple sketch would do. But I think with my experience, I've jumped the design and just went straight to cursor. I use cursor because at that time, again, this was GPT not even 4. I think Sonnet was like 3.5. So I had like very early days of the models in January. And Cursor was still not even 1.0. So it was very basic MVP features that they have, but it really does the job. The agent feature was really good. I started to build just the core feature, like I think for the audience out there, if you want to test the idea, like go straight to the core, build that core feature, see if it has legs, then you build around it, right? Okay, then you start to build a settings page, the login page, and things like that. So I think that was my approach with Nasma as well. Test the AI wrapper,
Yeah.
test the core functionalities, and then go from
Mm,
there.
that's awesome. And I know you also like connected with a few APIs, like you were, I believe you're using Open API. And what are the other things that that you had to sort of like, does it require technical knowledge? Like, I mean, you're from a design background, but I know you know a little bit of coding. So how's the learning curve over there?
Yeah, I had to make a lot of mistakes on that bit. But like there's best practices on like hooking up the API and all that stuff. But I learned along the way as well. I think one good thing about Cursor and the rise of MCP is that you can hook up this thing called Contact 7. So Contact 7 is what we call like a collection of all the documentation or official documentation from all these companies. So that really helped me in figuring out all the APIs that I use. So for example, Open API, if you really want to, today, if you want to build your own version of an AI wrapper, right? Like asking any questions, you can do prompts and all that. It's so simple. I think within 3 prompts, you can hook up the Open AI with your app and get it working. The challenging part is then you have to build your own chat interface. You have to build your own chat messaging, between AI and yourself. I think those things are more tedious than hooking up like the open AI in itself. But to me, Cursor has been like really good. I think it feels like an extension of coding, because for
Mm,
example, like Lovable, when I used it, I was a fan of Lovable as well. I think it was really good with web apps. If you really have more like more B2B or SaaS products, I think that's a really good AI tool as well to just validate your ideas. But man, I've been so comfortable with Cursor these days. I think for the
yeah.
audience out there, like go with Cursor.
All right. So that's great because I wanted to ask you that about my as a next question because there are so many platforms, including Replit, including Livable, as you mentioned, and even Windsurf. I was just wondering whether you tried the rest and what made you decide to stay on Cursor.
I have actually. I Lovable, Replit, even Cloud Code recently. Again, Cloud Code didn't exist back then, but I think Replit, Lovable, both they are all in this very similar category. It's no code, and you can build it quickly. The good thing is that you can like kind of still take the code and then extend it to Cursor. Like you can export through GitHub, so it's not wasted there. But I've stopped doing those things because it started to get expensive. Because Lovable is like $20, and then Bolt and all that. And then if you really look at it, they all use the same model, right? They all use at best Sonnet 4 now, right, or GPT-5. So I think at some point they all start to do the same things, And it's a matter of just being comfortable. Like if I tell you now I can design on Figma, I can also design using Keynote, I can design in Photoshop. At the end of the day, as a good designer, I would say I can produce very similar UI. So I think it's a matter of just choosing one that you're very comfortable with and then just go with it. Because at the end of the day, I think it will give the same results.
Yeah, that's really helpful to know. And like yeah, be too agnostic. Just build, just launch, and get things out there. So I know Nasma was something that you just shared, built in public. What about the other apps that you built, like Getlocal, which is like a translation app, or Detach? Was it sort of the same playbook as well? Like how do you launch and go to market? Is there any best practice?
If you really look at all my projects, they are actually all in different tech stacks, and they are all using different. They are all different versions of apps. So obviously, Nasma is Xcode because again, I'm just an Apple fanboy. So the first thing you would do is, as a designer, you always want to build your own iOS app. That's why I didn't have any Android app because I just don't want to go through, Google Android Studio. Sorry, no offense, Android. So that was one. And then AI translation tool is a web app, right? It's like a SaaS product, and that's actually it started from Lovable. So when I was working on Lovable, it started to ask for more money. Hey, you're out of credit, but I need to do something. And it took me 3 or 4 times to actually get that feature going. I was so fed up. And then I saw this GitHub button that says, "Oh, you can transfer to GitHub." I was like, I'm so like, let me just transfer my code out to GitHub, and then I pull it up into Cursor, and then Cursor solved my problems. So I think as soon as I experienced that with Lovable, I didn't come back, right? And then I just went straight to Cursor. And to your point with like marketing it out, I feel like my channel is LinkedIn. Like it doesn't matter if it's a consumer facing or whatever apps that I built, like LinkedIn has always been the one that works for me, that has like this like a spike in like impressions. And if people actually like it, they will share it. So that's my go-to. So whatever I build, LinkedIn is usually my go-to. I have yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just wanted to ask you, have you considered putting it on Product Hunt?
Not yet. I feel like my products are not good enough. I should be. I should.
It's a bit of
Yeah,
imposter syndrome over there. I mean, it's surely
exactly.
you have so many active users, it must be pretty good.
Yeah, I should. I think maybe get local would be something that I think generally people in product hunt would find it useful. Um, I might consider that in my next app launch.
Awesome. Awesome. That's really good to hear. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about, you're the head of design of one of the fastest growing companies in the Middle East, and you have a design team. How are you helping or preparing your designers for the future, right? Because that's the topic we're talking about. How's AI integrating with our workflow as designers or as product professionals?
Yeah, it's a very delicate issue actually when I had this conversation, because not everyone maybe is like me or like us where we are like taking this in a more positive way. I think some designers fear for AI, right? Because I fear it too, right? I think if you don't really know the whole concept of it, it might be scary, and LinkedIn doesn't help. Every time you go on LinkedIn, like, oh, design is dead, product is dead because AI is going to take over a job. So it's a very delicate issue. We had a really good session with the team, just to understand, like, okay, you know what, like let's have a discussion around this first, right? if it's going to come for your job, it will eventually. Like, every other thing through our, in this civilization where, if you make cars, robots came and, start making cars for you. So we are at this tipping point. It's true, right? And I've seen it myself. Like I doing vibe coding and making the app have potentially lost, a front end developer's job, right? A freelancer could have lost potential revenue because I made it myself. So I think in the design space, I also had a conversation with them. They, some took it well, some took it in the wrong way, where they are fearful. What's the trajectory for a designer? But exposing them to AI actually really helped them. I think we went with like the very basic things. Let's do content with AI. Let's create new images with AI. Let's critique, our product managers PRD with AI. I think those are like small things that I did with my design team. Um, but it's safe to say, and also Sam Altman has shown us that designers are not replaceable. He bought himself a design team with Johnny Ive, so I think, and also a lot of these AI tools still cannot do that, higher quality kind of thing. So designers are still here. We are still churning out designs, still creating user flows. So I haven't seen at least any disruptions as yet.
That's great. So what I hear you say is that you're trying to have a conversation and get them to explore the tools. Um, are you also evolving their roles? Like, for example, do you see like product design getting into product management or like vice versa? I don't know. Right. I think there's this new term called product builder. So yeah, what are your thoughts on evolving careers? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that will happen. I again, not to bring up old times, but I was once a web designer building only websites, and then somebody had to create this thing called iPhones and build mobile apps, and then I had to shift. So I think in the future with AI, I think designers are starting to, craft their own code. I think that will help also engineers. Like you would have only maybe backend engineers that you will work with, not just full stack anymore. I think the full stack becomes the full stack designer, right? You not only do your research and your design, but you also start creating the interactions yourself, and then you would hand it over to the engineers. I think that will come. I've heard or I've spoken to some folks who are in the SaaS business where they are doing that already, especially when you're doing like dashboards and web apps. I think that's so much easier transition. In the mobile space, it's still quite cumbersome to do. So I think the web space or the B2B space will definitely you'll start to see it more.
So what I hear you say is that you're also observing that roles are collapsing, but maybe more on people who are dealing with web apps rather than mobile apps. That's what I'm hearing.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Like, I mean, if I'm a fresh graduate, I just went to design school. Like, what should I do right now? Like to prepare myself. Maybe I'm in my last year, or maybe I just graduated. Yeah, what would be your advice?
That's a good question. The designers who have gone through multiple evol or revolutions in our career in this 15 20 years, if you look back, I think they are usually the generalists, right? Someone who knows, a bit of design, a bit of research, a bit of coding. They tend to stick around a bit longer. They have a longer, trajectory. If unless if you are only like, specific to one core skill. So I think the advice is to really be good. I wouldn't say great at one thing, but just, make sure you cover all your tracks. You know how to design, you know how to code, to run usability testing. I think that really helps in the long run. Because the future is you're not going to be talking to your human colleagues. You're going to be talking to like your machine colleagues, yeah, your AI agents. I think when that happens, you just don't prompt about designing. You also prompt about, hey, handing over coding, and let me do my own research with my synthetic users and all that stuff. So I think the baseline, and I've also hired my junior designers and given the same advice, like try to make sure like you are like a product manager as well, like you understand what the PRD does, you understand a little bit of analytics. And these days with AI, you can pick up skills so quickly with ChatGPT by your side. So I think that's largely the advice.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're going to be more and more like a generalist, getting closer to the market, getting closer to the business side of things and creating value for our users in more tangible ways. And we spoke briefly about education earlier, right? And I know you're a father of currently two kids, going to be three very soon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts? Like how are you preparing your own kids for this future where AI is so prevalent?
Wow, good question. As much as I want to give you like the best father answer that I could possibly, a parent answer I could think of, like screw that. Gr- My PC answer is, yeah, let's teach kids learn about life, values. I know, that's for sure. You need to teach them values. Nobody's gonna do that but you and your wife for sure, and maybe your grandparents. But I think with this whole AI space, like man, I just sat with my 10-year-old and we made a Roblox game. I downloaded Roblox Studio. We made a zombie game called Zombie Run. Fine. It's only level one right now because we didn't have time to do more. But I just made a game with him and he looked at me like I'm God. Like, oh my God, this guy is so good. Like, I was so proud, father. Like, we were playing the game together. He created the characters, he drew the characters. I took a picture, I put it on ChatGPT, like, hey, create this image. It came to life. And then I took that and I made another 3D model out of it, and then we hooked it up to Roblox. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how ChatGPT has become the glue in everything. You have a problem, ChatGPT has the answer. Copy paste, figure it out on the go, and then there you go. I have a level one Roblox game. So it's crazy um, how you can just learn something. And I became a kid as well when I started to make the Roblox game. So yeah, my advice is I think whatever kind of like is you see as a value or something valuable, I think it's worth teaching your kids these things because I don't think it will die off. Like if tomorrow ChatGPT doesn't work, I think everyone's gonna panic because you're so accustomed to it so quickly, right? Like I can't go back to the world maybe 2 years ago where ChatGPT wasn't around. It's just insane to even think about it today.
So so really love that advice and that fun project that you did together with your son. And I'm wondering, um, not for parenting advice, but like, for people who can't code, how what's like the easiest thing that they can do to pick up what you're doing, right? Like maybe building like an app that's a mobile app is maybe too complicated for me. Like what would you suggest as a good starting point to vibe code?
Yeah, there's a few ways to go about this. I yeah, I think for sure the concept of the concept of it really helps, right? Understanding what front end, what back end is, what is, databases and storages and things like that. Because really security does come in question as well. Like I've seen so many posts where the ENVs are exposed, like for example, like the API keys are exposed and things like that, and it can cost you as well. And for example, like Replit's case where they accidentally deleted the whole database, right? Like after months of hard work, it's just gone. I think understanding that concept is important. If you really look at AI as well, it's the same thing. Like, do I understand how the models are done? Like, no. But can you figure out ways to understand AI that it benefits you? Yes, right? So I think it's the same thing with if you want to start building something. And these tools are like you said, are getting better, like Replit or Ball or Lovable. Actually, Lovable just started their own like more vibe coding for the backend. Like you don't have to hook up to like more mature apps like Superbase. They are starting to make that easy as well, as easy as creating your front end, right, for the backend. So I think these things will evolve, but if you really want to start, go small, learn the concept of coding. I think it's not hard. ChatGPT has you explain to me like I'm five kind of explanation to really understand the architecture, the logic, the concepts. Then I think you have a grasp of it. Then when you start building it, it starts to make a little bit more sense. If not, you're just going at it blindly. If errors pops up, you don't know what that means, and you start fixing things that you don't know, so that you might give up at some point.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I think we're teaching vibe coding right now in our school. We just ran two classes here in Singapore. I think
Nice.
some of the more simple projects that people do that we advise is like either build a very, very simple game, right? Like maybe like a memory match game or something like that, or just like a landing page, which is really, really easy to do. So I think those are kind of the projects that I would start with. Um,
Yeah, actually, sorry, just to add
yeah,
on to that,
sure.
I, if you're a new designer, like we talked about as well, and jobs are hard these days. I know, like just going on LinkedIn, you can see there's not many design jobs as it was maybe 5 years ago. Like I've interviewed also designers fresh out of college. They have vibe coding. They have started vibe coding their own portfolios. If they don't have worked on a real company before, they don't have anything to produce in their portfolio, they build their own things. There's one girl I hired because she built her own OS, like her name underscore OS. And if you go to her website, I don't want to mention her name, by the way. So she had her whole, she vibe coded her whole portfolio with interactions and all that. As a recruiting manager, like you see that, you're like, wow, like you really spend time, you understand the concept of coding and designing, and it really helps. You don't have to actually work at a real company to have experience. You can actually vibe code these days. I thought about it as well. Like, is it better to have in my resume like I work at TikTok, Grab, or to have in my resume I launched Nasma, I launched Getglocal. Like I could have two very different resumes right now if I want to. And as a hiring manager, like which one actually makes more sense, right? So it's actually really maybe a cool experiment. I should create my alter ego on LinkedIn with my by-coded projects as my portfolio, as my resume, and see if I could get jobs with that way.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting experiment. My guess is that if you are aiming for your managerial roles, I think those companies you work for will still help a lot. But
That's
well,
true.
who knows? Who knows, right? Who knows? You might get hired by OpenAI or something like that
Ooh,
into
that's
their
where I want
team.
to be.
We won't tell your
Oops.
boss. Anyway, so yeah, getting back to the Middle East, I hear very, very interesting things about it. Other than the sheikh giving Donald Trump his private jet. But I heard that they're investing a lot in AI. They're also growing their industries a lot, and that's really a strong desire to learn from external people. Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing on the ground with the tech community. And I'm aware you visited both Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, to start off with, like the whole Stargate, I think you know about OpenAI in the US. They have Stargate, right, which is like the data centers, and there's a war with like the NVIDIA chips happening. I don't want to get into that, like the scarcity happening. But like on the ground and from a government standpoint, they are actually giving the locals free ChatGPT accounts, like plus. So every resident of UAE has a free ChatGPT Plus account. So that's huge. Like that's a great way to encourage, people who are, not in tech to be leveraging AI. And it's crazy. Like if you think about the open AI numbers as well, like back then when I looked at it, it's only 400 million people are using ChatGPT. That's 5% of the internet population. So we are only in the beginning, right? So it's crazy how in my world, I feel like everyone's using AI, but truth to be told, like my barber is not using AI. Like nobody's using AI but us. So I think the potential of growth is just crazy. It's super valuable right now to be in this space, and the government know that. And I thought I'm coming from Singapore, like our government apps are good, man. Like the UAE, the Middle East apps here, the government apps especially, they are very AI. They have their own AI companion. I can ask about like anything to do with my car, my licenses. I can pay all my bills in one go with AI. It's just crazy how advanced it's been. Uh, um, and I think even the ministers are saying like, AI is here to stay and we really want to.
I I really love that how progressive the government is in the Middle East and how much they are pushing to get the public to adopt technology. Um, what about job opportunities? What are your thoughts on that? Like having, product managers or product designers coming to work in Abu Dhabi or Dubai. What's it like? Because everywhere else I see, people are struggling to land jobs in tech.
Oh, I think it's still the same, and it's tough because I'm in both sides. One is like really helping um people that I meet to try to figure out how to you know find opportunities for them. But then I was also on the other side where I'm hiring, right? And when you're hiring, it's a totally different lens. Like I look at, the best person for the job, the resume, right? What they have done, and not giving two chances to people who are just starting out. So it's I'm torn because especially here in UAE, like like I said, like 10 million of people are expats, and you actually need a job to be in this country as well. And the good thing with the government initiative is that there's a lot of opportunities. If you just Google like AI funded companies or just companies that have been funded, I think 90% are or 95% are AI. Don't quote me on the specifics, but what I'm saying is majority of these companies are all AI native. So that's really good. Money is coming through this country. And we are building like global businesses. I think one of them you might heard of also in Singapore. It's called QLUB. I think they are like a payments QR company and things like that. So there's a lot of really cool initiatives that's happening. AREF is one. They are building AI agents, and I think a lot of these companies are starting out. But the reality is, with these AI companies, how they are built up. I don't know if you follow Henry on LinkedIn. So he's building a lean AI playbook, right? So what it essentially means is like today, what's sexy is actually building a company with as small number of employees as you can, which makes sense. So on average, I think he has a lot of these companies on his leaderboard. Like one employee is making millions of revenue or millions of dollars per revenue. It's crazy how the calculation is today. Right, Dylan. So the question is like, what will happen in the future if AI native companies are building out with 5 people, 10 people, and they make like 100 million ARR? Like, where does it leave the rest of us? It's an
Yeah,
open question right
yeah.
now.
Well, I think I've been reading about it, and this is actually a massive economic opportunity. And every time we have like a game-changing technology be introduced in the economy, like generally a lot of people get rich in that process. And they were predicting that um, that's probably going to be the first $1 billion company that's just one person. I'm not sure how soon that's going to come, but it looks like we're getting very, very close. As I study the hockey stick curves of like ChatGPT and subsequently Cursor and now Lovable, uh, the cursor is just getting like it's not even like a hockey stick anymore. It's like it's just kind of like going up. It's just like a vertical thing that goes up right now. So I'm looking at the how things are evolving, and for us as a training company, we are helping as many people tap onto this opportunity as possible, and also preparing our corporate clients for this new future over there. Yeah, so I think we had a very good chat about your career as well as a little bit about your philosophy of building things. I just kind of want to just add a wrapper, like you're a very experienced design leader in your field, and you've learned a lot of things along the way from Yahoo to like Grab to like TikTok. Um, Now with what you're seeing in our industry, what do you think are some of the key core skills that, you know, designers or product professionals should still have in the age of AI?
That is a very good question again, Mr. Dalen. No, I, it, I'm me at work and me at home are two different person. As a design leader at work, it's really different, right? Because I think at the end of the day, when you work in a mature organization, it's all about delivery. It's all about how fast can we, get the features out to our customers. So our customers can ultimately benefit from all these things that we talked about. And then it comes to the P&L or the revenue side of things that we have to uphold as well. So it's a very different landscape. And as much as I and my other leaders in the company, and as with everyone else in the organization, want to push for AI, it's still not there yet, right? I can't have my AI designer churn out very good, high quality flows. But the question is, will we ever get there, right? So if you are a very early designer, like I said, being generalist, you should also focus on your craft a little bit, like because if we go through a design review and if I'm asking AI agents like, hey, is this design good? It becomes very subjective. Today, right? You still need a human in the loop, I would say, to really look at design, code quality, and things like that. So at this today, at least, I can like at least predict like we are not going anywhere. There's still a lot to learn. AI is more of an extension. It really helps you do so many things really well and really quickly. um, but I'm still sitting in my meetings reviewing designs, man. Like I before this call, I was just reviewing with my team a lot of flows, a lot of designs that AI couldn't do. So I think it's still a bit of balance of both. But just to wrap it up, I think it really helps me as a design leader or even as a vibe coder, at night. Um, it really helps me to learn so fast, so quickly. I feel like I'm on, like a learning steroids right now. Like I've learned so many things in the past 6 months that I haven't learned the past 5 years, thanks to AI. It's just crazy. If I see something on X, I just take it and I dump it on ChatGPT and I say like, hey, what does this mean? And then I learn it that way. It's just so refreshing. I've learned so much the past 6 months myself as a person, as a father, as a coder, as a head of design. And I'm sure you too, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really incredible. That that I think what I hear from your advice is like make make use of this opportunity to learn as much as possible through the AI tools you're given. Don't be afraid to experiment and to try new things. And and what I'm also hearing is that in terms of skill sets, having a good eye on design, having that taste, having that craft, is still important. And being able to, I guess, communicate with others, being able to, lead initiatives and launch things. I can kind of see that from your hiring process as well as you were talking about it earlier. These things are still valuable even in this age and will continue to be valuable in the near future. So that sounds really good advice, I think, to prepare us for the future. Um, and you've been an entrepreneur before, right? I know you tried to launch a couple of your own products, and
I created a
uh,
shop as well. I made a
yeah.
restaurant because
That's
the
awesome. Oh
apps
yeah,
are not
you
enough.
do. You are an entrepreneur. Yes, I forgot you are in the F&B business as well. So yeah, I'm just wondering, like, hey, like let's say maybe this work thing doesn't work out, right? I can get a job. I don't want to drive a Grab, there are not enough jobs for me. How, as an entrepreneur, what would be like your advice? Like, how would you advise someone to start, or do you believe that not everyone should be an entrepreneur?
That's a really interesting question because I feel now with my kids, the Gen Alphas, their generation, if you ask their friends as well, and I have, they all want to be YouTubers. I at first I laugh it off, right? At first you're like, haha, of course you want to be like Mr. Beast. But then if you could just, peel the onion a little bit and you get to the core, and that's the future. I think all the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, I think they will be the masters of their own distribution. And I've been really struggling with that when you vibe code, right? Like, to be honest with you, I made 5 apps, great. But how do you market it, right? How do you distribute it? And a lot of people who have so many followers, they say, yeah, distribution is key. You solve distribution, everything else will fall into place, which is true. If you look at Kim Kardashian, which is a great example, and to our fellow American audience here, like Kim Kardashian is a prime example of you own distribution. Anything you build will just succeed, right? Mr. Beast as well, like whoever it is. So I think in that I'm too old to be on TikTok, by the way. I wish maybe I should, maybe I still should be on TikTok, creating my own videos. I think that's the key. If you think about it, I think distribution is the key, and the younger generation will own that. I think everybody will be online selling something, right? Whether it's a skill or a product or a tangible product, whatever it is, I think everyone will have that, and that's how you make money. Um, Again, I don't want to be a futurist talking about the long, future ahead of us. But that's the problem today. And with everyone creating their own apps, at some point we will have this distribution problem to solve, which is fun. Because today you can be really good at LinkedIn, you can be great at TikTok, you can be great at X, but they are all different distributions. You have 1 million followers there, 10 million followers there, but they're all not kind of connected. And you don't own those followers. Those platforms do, right? TikTok owns your followers, X owns your followers. So I think if you are vibe coding, you should start getting your own followers. And what do I mean by that? I think, for example, owning your own email list is a great strategy. Doesn't matter if TikTok changes their algorithm, like Facebook, nobody's on Facebook anymore. Imagine if you have like 10 million of people on Facebook. It's just your hard-earned work is all gone, right? Because they moved to another platform and you're not popular on the other platform. So I think at some point, yes, one there will be like a decentralized way of owning your followers, and then distributing whatever you build that way. Maybe I don't know if you get that picture, but that's what I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah, so I think what that sounds like to me is like the barriers of entry to being a creator or monetizing your creation or even starting your own thing, it's just going to get lower and lower, and it could be a potential stream of income for people, and for some people they'll be extremely successful at it and get really rich. Maybe for others, it could sustain a very simple lifestyle. So that's a very interesting perspective that you're sharing with DGen Alpha. So yeah, I think we've come to sort of the end of the session itself, and I was just wondering if you have any parting advice that you want to share with the design or the product community here in Asia Pacific.
Yeah, I think my parting comments would be if you're learning AI, like have a strategy in place, right? Um, it's very easy to see what other people are doing and start doing it. Oh, I want to create my own app, or I want to jump on the lovable train and blah blah blah. Like, let the people like us make mistakes so that you don't have to do your own, make your own mistakes. I think if I look back now with my AI journey, you need to have a game plan with what you want to learn from AI and what you want to get out of it. So if you want to master AI, what's your end game when you have mastered AI? So for example, people like me, I needed, to master AI to be better at my job. Some people want to master AI to be better at coding, to be better at designing, to be better, I don't know, like script writers. I think you need to have a strategy in place. What I mean is like, for example, if you are a product manager, right? You need to understand what the different models do. Like today or 2 days ago, OpenAI launched ChatGPT 5. Like, what the hell does that mean for people like us, right? So I think learning, understand, like, oh, you mean it's larger context windows. There's a latency trade-off. There's different model behavior. It has more data. I think those kind of things really helps a product manager. And if you're a product designer, maybe you want to learn AI so that you can get better in making prototypes, right? So that your designs can come alive. I've learned AI in my design leadership so that I can um, actually write better job descriptions of people I want to hire. I think come up with a strategy of what you want to get out of it, get a deadline within 6 months. This is why I want to be at, and then let AI take you there. So that's my parting advice.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. And you're right. A lot of people just play with AI, right? Like because it's trendy, it's fun. They'll just gildify a profile picture or something like that, and then after that they forget about it. But then like learning it in a very deliberate manner, like building things, it's very different than just playing with it, right? So I think that's great advice, and we should all start picking it up, trying it out, be deliberate about what we're doing and what we're building, and just enjoy that learning journey. And with that, thank you, Sherizan, for taking time to be in our show.
Thank
And
you.
it's really, really heartening to hear how you've grown in your career and how you're like helping the community now in Middle East. Look forward to seeing you in person sometime over there. And yeah, we're also sort of like expanding our presence with our courses in Gen AI. So yeah, we hope to be able to do some business there in future as well, as we're doing so in Singapore and Malaysia right now. So with that, thank you, Shirizan, for coming over. And for the audience that are listening, it's been a wonderful um, half a year or so. I look forward to seeing you in our next show with our next guest speaker. We've got a very, very exciting lineup of people who are building and launching very, very interesting and game-changing software products in the next season of working in UX design.
Thank you so much.